A lot of news coming out of LSU last night, and the biggest news would be that Max Johnson, LSU starting quarterback for the entire season, he started for the entire season, didn't play very much in one game, and it was a starter for 2 games last year, has decided he's going to enter into the transfer portal. His time at LSU very likely done. Your reaction to that?
Yeah, just an interesting timing. I really wasn't expecting it, especially after reports. Now, just like, what reports do we ever read? I could have sworn I read a report. Max talked to Coach Kelly. Things are good. Max is staying. And now you hear this. So it kind of surprised me a little bit. But, hey, I think we got to get this thing done. Like, if guys are leaving, then leave. You got to hit the portal, do what you got to do for you. And if you want to stay here and be a Tiger and fight for the Fighting Tigers, then you got to do that and sign up for that every day. It's not something you can waver from. So I think it's not the end of it. I think you're going to see some more of these guys kind of, make their decisions to move their talents elsewhere, especially when some of these coaches get hired and maybe these players, probably don't feel like that's the best guy for them in their future. So my original thoughts, though, just shocked by it. I wasn't expecting that. But, hey, if that's what Max wants to do, obviously he's bringing his little brother along with him. Got to do it and wish him the best going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little different when the starting quarterback does it. I did sense for the basically the duration of this season that Max is a little frustrated with the way things played out. I think he was frustrated with some of the efficiencies in the offense, and whether that's communication or what goes on the field. I think obviously the fact that he was sat for a game for Garrett Nussmeier, just to give it a look, maybe didn't sit well. I don't know that or not, but I know that it just wasn't a smooth year. And now all of a sudden you look up, you've had a coaching change, another offensive coordinator change is coming, and it's just not set in stone. And he wants to look around because in this day and age, there's really no penalty for looking around, and everybody wants to do it. And I tweeted this out last night. We've mentioned it on this show before, but this is nothing new in Baton Rouge. The last quarterback to enroll at LSU and finish his college playing days at LSU, Jordan Jefferson. That was 10 years ago. It's just not the way that the position operates anymore, and it's disappointing to lose a guy that you thought was kind of going to be potentially a backbone of your offense for next year. I think there's a lot of people who were, armchair quarterbacks that are disappointed in the way Max played this year. I think there were some games where he didn't have his best stuff, but I also think he was put in some difficult spots. The offensive line was really poor for a lot of the early season. The running game was very poor for most of the season. The communication between coaching and players and getting plays run was very poor. His best wide receiver goes down. It was a tough spot to play in, and I thought for the most part he did a pretty good job protecting the ball. They made some plays, and then there were some times where he just didn't have his best stuff. But this is a guy who's a sophomore who potentially has another year or two left that I think has the potential to be a really good college quarterback, and unfortunately doesn't look like that's going to be in Baton Rouge.
No, it's not. It's definitely not going to be in Baton Rouge. And I think for Max, I don't know, just looking back at that hire, you do obviously he played some snaps his freshman season, but you pair a quarterback that's got to go through his first 12 games with a first-year coordinator, and we kind of saw that really thing. It didn't hit. It wasn't a hit. And you kind of saw that with the frustration, especially the Auburn game when we couldn't get plays and we were calling timeouts, out of special teams returns and all that stuff. And all that stuff can be frustrating, especially for a quarterback who's his first time really going through an SEC slate. So it's disappointing, but I think for the Fighting Tigers, I think we'll be fine in the long run. For me, people are in the Body Forward chat telling me to go off on Max. I'm not going to do that. I don't think it's a time or place for that. I think Max has done a good job from what he could do at his time at LSU, and you got to wish him and his brother well in their future endeavors.
So I'm pretty transparent on these type of things. Like I wish Max was staying at LSU. I don't have any problem saying that I wish that he would stick it out and stay. Like I wish that would be the case. I don't know all the information. And I'm not, pulling hard against him when he leaves. I pulled hard against John Chavis when he left and went to Texas A&M from LSU because that's my alma mater and that's what I care about. I don't care about Texas A&M. So when John Chavis goes there, I don't wish him all that much success. But I wish Max would hang out, but he's not. And I do think that if you are in the camp that it's a good thing he's gone, he wasn't any good, I'd have to push back against that as a soft. And T-Bob went on a great. It's not a rant, but he had a great point on this morning. It's like, how much has our prism changed? The way we view the quarterback position changed, where at LSU, we're looking at a sophomore quarterback who completes 60% of their throws for 27 touchdowns and 6 picks, and we say, man, that guy wasn't very good. Like, think of where we were.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's definitely a great point, but I think every fan base kind of falls into that. Obviously, the Patriot fans are expecting the world from Mac Jones, and you can just go on and on with guys who've kind of had incredible seasons or incredible runs, and the guys who kind of have to step in and fill in their shoes. Guys are expecting that. They want a Joe Burrow. They want 2019 again. They want the Joe Brady offense. They want all these things, but quite frankly, it's just not that easy. And I think for Max, just watching him this year, like I've said all season, he's kind of playing quarterback with his hands tied. In a lot of occasions when you got a makeshift offensive line, no run game to show for you lose your best weapon. And obviously you're dealing with a first-year coordinator, and we're not getting the plays in. So it's a tough scene. It's a tough spot. But for Max, he felt like it was his best to move on to greater pastures. I hope the grass is greener on the other side. I like what we got going here at LSU. I still believe in all the talent that we still have on this roster. And I know that talent is going to be rebooted, especially with the new transfer portal rules where you can kind of replace these guys and give and go with that. So it's not as sad as day as I would expect it to be for me. I think I love what Nuss can bring, his upside that he has. And obviously, if Walker still decides to be a Tiger, I love his upside too. So not the worst news in the world. I think we still have really some guys that can come in and still help us at the quarterback position.
Like
my man Nuss, man. Like my man Walker Howard.
I don't disagree. And we talk about the Texas Bowl and who's going to play quarterback now because Garrett Nussmeier has communicated that he wants to redshirt. And I just don't see a scenario where he ditches that red shirt to go play for an interim coach with a lame duck staff in the Texas Bowl on a Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. To give up a year of your football life for 3.5 hours against Kansas State in the Texas Bowl, I just don't think that's what's going to happen.
I don't know. I think I actually think the exact opposite of that. Actually, I think especially for a guy like Nuss, I could see, especially in that Arkansas game, he wanted to be out there. He wanted to play, and I don't think he's going to pass up on this opportunity, especially if you can go out there and really have a great showing and really have these 15 practices.
Yeah, but the Arkansas game didn't cost him a red shirt. Like,
I know
this
that.
is totally different.
I know that, but I think for him, it's a great opportunity to go out there and play quarterback. You don't get that many opportunities unless he wants to go to another school. I don't see why he wouldn't want to go out there and play.
Because you lose a year.
I mean, I don't think these kids care about that, man. I think if you can go out there and
But he already said he did when he said, I'm going to redshirt.
I know, but that's without the opportunity of starting. Obviously, you don't want to lose that year. If Max Johnson is coming back and being the starting quarterback of LSU next year, then, yeah, you definitely need that year. But with Max out of the picture, I think it opens up an opportunity for him to really gain that starting job and really go out there and be impressive and really, make better on the mistakes he made in that Arkansas game and really show that he could be the starting quarterback for LSU. If you redshirt and don't play, you lose that opportunity. And so I think for him, it's an opportunity to show that he can be the starter for this team next year.
I don't disagree that it's an opportunity to show you can be a starter. I also think you can prove that in spring ball and in fall camp. And I think in this day and age, with what we're looking at in quarterbacks and with the transfer portal and how no one stays in one spot very long, my anecdote about quarterbacks moving around, it lends itself to that. To give up a year for 4 hours, I don't think it's going to happen. So I think that's going to put LSU in a situation where Matt O'Dowd, the walk-on, is very likely your starting quarterback. I mean, the thought's been thrown out there that John Trey Kirkland get back there and run a package because he played a lot of quarterback in high school and has a good arm. But I think that it's going to be a mess on offense for LSU come January 4th.
Yeah, I mean, if they continue to redshirt Nuss and he has no shot of playing, man, it's gonna maybe have to be picking against my Tigers again.
It might look like the Patriots offense from Monday night. 3 pass attempts.
Look, I don't know if this offensive line in our run game, I don't know if that's gonna be a great idea. I don't know if we can hand it off to TDP and the crew 50 times. That's just gonna be a rough scene. So I don't know. I'm kind of stuck on that, man. I don't know if Nuss. I know his father's gonna have a huge role in that, but I don't know, man. If you go out there and play great in that bowl game, you develop some rapport with these receivers. I don't know. I think it sets up great for next year. And I know you say kids care about these red shirts, but I know it's something kids care more about, and that's playing at the next level. And so that year really doesn't matter. It actually gets you there faster. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. But for me, I would love to see Nuss in the bowl game.
We will certainly see. We'll give LSU a better chance to win. I don't see it happening. So that's, Max Johnson entering transfer portal. I guess we can mention Jake as well. His younger brother, who is the number 1 tight end in the country. Looks like they're going to both look elsewhere as kind of a package deal. And that hurts LSU because that's a position of need. And you feel like you had the best one. And you can't. You can always go to the transfer portal, but it would have been nice to get a 4-year guy in there that you felt like you could handle. And it sounds like, I mean, there is a tight end in the class, just not to the caliber of Jake Johnson.
Yeah, it's a tough loss. And I think for Coach Kelly, just watching the tight ends that he's coached at Notre Dame and how they get their tight ends involved, they pretty much always have 2 tight ends on the field. I think that's probably going to be a strategy that he brings over to the Tigers. Less fullbacks, more tight ends, and you lose a tight end, and we kind of saw the lack of tight ends we had this season. It's a blow, but I wouldn't call it a huge blow. I think you with the transfer portal rules now that we have, you can see what tight ends are out there in the portal and go after those guys hard, because they're going to have an amazing opportunity to play a ton of snaps at a program like LSU. So I'm not going to get all frantic. People are saying it's panic time in the Body 4 chat. I'm not going there yet. I want to see how this coaching staff comes together. I want to see how this recruiting class comes together, and I want to see how this transfer portal gets hit by these coaches. And then after that, I'll have a better understanding of how we're going to look next season. And then if it's time for panic time, then I'll be panicking with you guys. But I don't think we're very, very far ways away from that.
There's been a culture problem over there for 2 years. And if that needs to get cleaned up, and part of that cleanup is cleaning house, that's just what's going to happen. And I'm not sitting here and telling you that Max Johnson and Jake Johnson are massive cancers who are a disaster in the program. That's not what I'm saying. But you need everybody on the same page. And if you've got guys who are looking into the transfer portal, they're not on the same page. That's just the reality of the situation. So you got to get the guys in there that want to be there. And they're going to, inevitably, when you have a coaching change, there are going to be people that don't want to be a part of what's new. You got to figure it out and get the guys in there that do. So that's what Chip, not Chip, that would be Brian Kelly, is going to have to do moving forward.